USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks, or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Learn more and get a quote at usaa.com/bundle. Restrictions apply.
Shh. Hear that? Big waves are calling. Dive into refreshment with Kona Big Wave. Tropical flavor and the taste of aloha in every drop. So crack one open and let the great taste roll in. Kona Big Wave, Liquid Aloha. Copyright 2025 Kona Brewing Co., St. Louis, Missouri. Mahalo for enjoying responsibly.
Welcome to Her Extraordinary Life by Design, where we celebrate women who are shaping their lives one extraordinary day at a time. I'm your host, Leslie Gaudet, self-care coach for women who are ready to make self-care a priority to support them in life and business. Every week, I'll be speaking with inspiring women from various walks of life who will share their personal journeys and will discover how they have fearlessly carved their own paths as business owners, passionately pursuing their dreams and creating a meaningful impact on their communities. So let's get started. Hello, and welcome to Extraordinary Life by Design podcast. I'm your host, Leslie Gaudet, and today we're talking with Bonni Wildesen Hise and Kerri Pagliarini. Bonni and Kerri are the powerhouse team behind the Mind and Body Reset Hub and co-creators of the transformational 90-day Mind and Body Reset, a proven program designed to help women ditch the bloat, crush cravings, balance their mood, and finally feel at home in their bodies again. Bonni is a gut health and herbal medicine expert with a background in complementary and alternative medicine. She helps women heal from chronic symptoms, improve digestion, and boost energy naturally without restrictive diets or a cabinet full of supplements. Kerri, widely known as the Sugar Knockout Coach, specializes in helping professional women in their 50s overcome sugar addiction, especially those stubborn nighttime cravings. Her sustainable science-backed methods help women get results without deprivation or guilt. Together, they also co-host the hit podcast, Health Hacks and Wine Racks, where they serve up autoimmune-friendly recipes, gut-friendly hacks, and honest conversations about what it really takes to feel good, paired with a splash of wine and a lot of laughs. Their work is rooted in the belief that true wellness is doable, delicious, and absolutely worth it. Bonni and Kerri, I am so excited to welcome you both to the show.
Thank you. I love doing these with you.
Yay, thank you so much.
Yeah, well, I am excited to have you both here, but I want to just go back for just a moment. I'd love to start with your story of what led each of you into the wellness space. You know, Bonni, you and I have known each other a little while. We've actually had the privilege of talking on an earlier podcast episode. So maybe you can give our listeners a little bit of a refresh. But I'd like to know, like, what led both of you into the wellness space and what inspired you to join forces and create the Mind and Body Reset Hub?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so for me, basically what led me into it was coming from a family that really has a lot of health issues. When I turned 30, I decided I needed to do something with myself, and that was a while ago. And I basically just stepped up and hired a trainer, hired a nutritionist to shift things around just a little bit because I didn't realize how much I was doing wrong. I thought I was doing everything right, and I wasn't. I was doing what I thought I could be doing, but there was so much more. And once I hired them, once I talked with them and really was learning from them, I lost 100 pounds, and that really catapulted me into fitness and wellness. And then over the years, working with various clients, mostly with autoimmune and chronic illnesses, I delved really super deep into complementary alternative health, including herbal medicine and holistic nutrition. And I've kind of stayed in this sphere for a while, not only because of my own issues, which we've talked about on the earlier episode, where I have a dairy intolerance that operates very similarly to an allergy, but it is definitely intolerance. And that kicked its heels up and made me aware of it in 2013. And that really is what cemented me into this field. And then Kerri and I met about a year and a half, maybe. Yeah, I think it was only about a year and a half ago, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, we were both part of a holistic health conglomeration, this group of practitioners that each month we would put on health fairs. And we kept picking the same topics. And then we started doing things together. And here we are. One thing really just led to another. One of the things that we realized last summer was the gaps, the things, because as you know, Leslie, when we coach people, we have our areas of specialties and we have our areas that we really keep our eye out for. And then there's those things in the periphery that we may not pay as much attention to. And those are the gaps that Kerri and I fill for each other. There were things that she was seeing in my talks that she would pipe in and fill the gaps on, and vice versa. And once that happened, we realized we had to do something together. And the community and the 90-day program, the Mind and Body Reset, that's where that all came from. And to hear our client today, it was the perfect decision to partner up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because like gut health and sugar addiction go so like hand in hand. And people would ask me questions about gut health. And I know some about gut health, but I was like, some of my folks needed like a deep dive. So we're like, we just need to pair up for sure and really give our clients the extra that they need because it's really paired so well together.
Yeah. Well, what led you, Kerri, directly into this field? Because I know, like, as I said, I know the history a little bit of what, Bonni shared with me previously when we've talked and, her giving us a little bit of a recap today. But what led you specifically into this field?
Yeah, so same like my own health journey. I think a lot of people get involved because of their own health journey. So Ray, love to say this. I love sugar. Okay. I love sugar. I get it. Candy is my weakness. Like growing up, we ate really well, but then we ate a lot of junk food, just a lot and a lot of sugar. And then as I got older, started having a job, buying all the candy and all that good stuff for myself. I also had migraines since elementary school, which I don't think anyone believed they're migraines, and they tested my eyes and they were like, oh yeah, she doesn't need glasses. Like, are the headaches that bad? So I dealt with that, gas and bloating, gut issues, a whole bunch of hormonal issues that ended me in the hospital needing surgery. And I was in my late 20s. I'm like, whoa, like what's happening here? I was like, what am I going to do? So one of my friends at the time, her husband was health coach, and he started teaching me about food and lifestyle, completely different from what I was doing. Fascinating. I changed my diet, changed my lifestyle, and the results have been amazing. Like the body can heal itself by itself if we actually give it the materials to do so. And I was like, everybody should know this, right? Everyone should know. Nobody should be suffering the way I was. Of course, sugar was really the culprit to the connection to all my health issues, which I didn't want to believe that, right? Because I love sugar. We all love sugar. And so I didn't eat sugar for a very long time after that. And then I went through a divorce. And I started eating sugar again, even though I know better. And that's when I was like, there's this emotional component. And so I dove into that as well. And that's why it's so great to work with Bonni over the gut health. And we talk about all of it. We talk about mindset. We talk about emotional eating, sugar, gut health, all of it. Like it's been really, really great. The emotional piece, I think, is huge. So we really explore that in our community as well.
Yeah, I love that you talked about emotions because I truly believe that we make decisions from emotions, right? So we make the decisions to eat certain foods from emotions. When I'm upset, I can't eat. When I'm stressed, I eat. So I think there's that whole emotional component behind it. And I truly believe that. And, again, we live in a world where food has been introduced now as that feel good, that go to. Because you look at the commercials, you look at the ads, they're presenting food to us in a way. It's like, oh, it's for us to desire it. So I love that you guys have partnered together to create this. And that's what, like one of the things I love about what you're doing is how community focused that your work is. Because you've built a space where women can feel safe, where they can feel supported, where they can feel seen and heard and understood in the journeys that they're going through, knowing that no two bodies are the same and nobody's lifestyle is the same. So I want to ask you a question for both of you. Like why, and of course this conversation is going to be for both of you, but why is that sense of community so important to you? And how does it show up in your 90-day reset experience?
Bonni, you want to go first?
So there's actually a scientific component for it. What we see in just life is as women, we rely on other women. We rely on that support system. There's things that a lot of us we can talk easier to our friends than we can to husbands, to spouses, to brothers, to fathers, other people in our world. And scientifically, it's actually been proven that when you add a community element to anything that you do, you boost results because people are able to see what others are doing, not in a competitive way, in a way where they see what possibilities are and they can talk to other women who are going through a journey similarly to what they're doing. And in the field that I work in specifically, a lot of people feel so alone and so isolated. To give them a community that is private, where we don't pull any punches. It's Vegas rules, and if you don't know what Vegas rules are, it's basically what happens there stays there. You say anything outside of it, guess what? You've just been booted, and you will not be invited back to the Vegas trips. That is the rule.
Okay.
So by doing that, we've established such a private space where they're not judged, but they're able to just share openly with each other. And I mean, I I don't know anyone who wants to walk into a restaurant and talk about poop with their friend
Yeah.
or dinner. Nobody wants to do that. You'd be able to hop on a call with other women, especially those in the 90-day who are there because they've had so many challenges and they're tired of it. They are done. They just want something that is going to work, that's not going to keep them stuck and is going to let them move forward. And here they are with other women who have life challenges, and they're on the same path. It just, for our mental health and our emotional well-being, it really does lift us up and it makes us feel supported and not so isolated.
Yeah. And I love that you brought up isolation. So a lot of my private clients, which is why I was like, we need this community, they're busy women, right? Whether they're professional or moms. And there is a lot of loneliness and a lot of isolation because they're so busy doing for everybody else, right? We're women, like we do for everybody else. And then they feel like they're not taking care of themselves and there's like no real community. So we're like, we want to build a community for women to be able to come together. But it's also that emotional piece that we were talking about earlier, right? Like if you're lonely, if you feel isolated, guess what? I'm going to eat a bag of potato chips or a bag of candy because that gives me like that little dopamine hit in the brain. It makes me really feel good instead of dealing with, oh my gosh, I'm lonely and how do I connect with people? So we come together once a week for each one of our groups to chat, but then there's the online community that you don't have to be isolated and you can connect with other women and us. And we're so
Yeah.
excited about the space we've built.
Yeah, I love that. And one of the things too, it's not just like that community maybe on Facebook or on school or wherever someone would host a community, but having those group calls. I am all about group coaching. And the reason why I love it is because it brings you together. You are with other like-minded people who are going through not maybe the exact same thing, but they may have gone through something similar to what you're going through now, and you're able to learn from each other to support each other. And I've heard people say, well, I'm not really a fan of group coaching, in other words, experiencing it. But I don't know if they've really had that experience around being in a room with other people that are going through similar experiences that they are, and having that coach who's leading the discussion and giving them feedback and helping them through their questions, any, feedback or things that they're, holding them back mindset wise. And I've just found, like in my own experience, when it's come to one-to-one coaching as opposed to group coaching, that I've enjoyed more the group coaching because not only am I getting supported from that coach, but other people are chiming in, oh my gosh, yeah, I never thought about that. Or they'll say something that will spark something in me that will say, oh, actually, I never thought about that. Or I give them the ability to think about something that may not have actually been on their radar and vice versa. So that's why I love group coaching so much, why I love community, because you do have that, you have that place where you don't feel alone. Like you were saying, Bonni, a lot of the time we feel isolated, we feel alone, like we're going through something by ourselves. And yes, of course, it's an individual experience, but there are people like you that are out there experiencing it similarly. It's just their experience, and having a place to come together and talk about it and say, oh, I'm going through that too, or I went through that. This is what I did. And just opens up this dialogue and to feel like, oh, I'm not crazy. I'm not dumb for thinking this way. Or, you know, I never thought of, but it could possibly be the reason, could be that it was the sugar that I was eating, or I had an allergy to something like milk intolerance. Like, I have lactose intolerance. And that started in my early 20s. And that was based on, I think it started from stress, but I don't know. Like, I really don't know. I mean, there's so many things that I would love to like learn about, like my own experience. But I wanted to get back to that. I just wanted to say thank you so much for talking about that, because I really feel the community is so important. And both of you have talked about that isolation piece and not feeling isolated and being seen and heard by other people just like you without judgment. And then I love the Vegas rules. Like, yeah, if what goes here, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, meaning don't talk about it outside of it. Because again, this is where people come again in your community to be supported. They're not coming to be judged, and definitely not coming to be judged outside of the community either. So I really love that you talk about that. That to me is very cool, like that you do that.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
I have generally followed Vegas rules forever. I love the concept of it. And for me, when I was going through my first health journey, that was the rule. When you worked with the women in class, what happened there stayed there. Didn't matter what it was.
Yeah, I love that. So I want to talk about burnout, because this is something that I talk a lot about, but I want to talk about it in the way of food. So I feel like women can get burned out on the restrictive plans or the diets, the fad diets, because there's so many out there. And the shoulds of like when it comes to health, like what I should eat, what I shouldn't eat, what I should have, what I shouldn't have, should I be on this plan? Or, so and so says be on this type of diet. And I like the words that you used, Kerri, about the lifestyle, because I think it's really a lifestyle choice. The word diet can be such a dirty word, but to a lot of people, but I think it's just a lifestyle choice. So, with that being said, how do you help women let go of that all or nothing thinking and actually embrace wellness in a way that fits into their real lives?
Oh, such a good question. I think it's because of the group coaching and because of the community. So each week we get on and the first few weeks to month, I know I shouldn't do that. Oh, I've been doing that. And oh man, I can't stop. And we're like, whoa, 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 whoa. You don't need to be 100%. We're not looking for perfection. We're looking for progress. And we're always like, if you're doing something versus nothing, you're winning. You're headed in the right direction. And we don't need to should all over ourselves. And, and we do have, the 90 days is structured strategically to help women lose weight and figure out what works for their body. But if they're struggling in one area, we're like, hey, what if you just were like, who cares? What if you just were like, I'm going to eat that one thing and less than I usually do, but I'm going to give myself a break, or I'm going to fully enjoy it without guilt, without shame, because I think that's what happens a lot around food. I feel like I shouldn't be eating this, but I can't help myself. So I'm going to scarf it down so fast and pretend like it never happened. But then I don't feel good about myself because I feel like I shouldn't have eaten that, instead of giving myself permission to have a few bites of chocolate cake, but enjoy the heck out of those 3 bites. So I feel satisfied. I feel like I've had it, and then I probably don't need a whole piece of cake. And if I do too, that's okay. But they have to go through the process so we can keep reminding them you don't need to be beating yourself up. You're so used to doing that. That's the habit that really needs to be broken. And then the rest is a lot easier to build a lifestyle.
Yeah, that's really a lot of the feedback we're getting and the testimonials we're getting is exactly that they came to us with these perceptions that have been drilled into our heads over years and years and years of just mass marketing and the messages we see on social media and online and in our TVs. And what they're finding is when they just let go and let their body reconnect with their brain and actually talk with it, the success is just huge. When they let it go, it's like they open floodgates to what's possible.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think it's that there's all that guilt around food, and I think a lot of that just comes from whether it's what we see on TV or we see on commercials, if you're still watching commercials, just depending on where you're getting your media from. But wherever you're getting your media from when it comes to, like, the idea of beauty, when it comes to body image, because that's a huge thing, something I had to really work through as I was growing up through my 20s into my 30s. And finally, especially since I went through menopause and I'm on the opposite side, like I'm in the postmenopausal stages of my life and going through like how my body changed and especially, you know, getting the meno belly and then starting to like gain weight without realizing like I'm not doing anything different, like and starting to panic. And then all of a sudden it's starting to regulate and just finding ways to do that. But I know that there is so much guilt around food, and a lot of that comes from the shoulds. Like, I should have that. I shouldn't have that, because I'm trying to lose 10 pounds. And almost like we self sabotage in that thinking because if, we're trying to lose 10 pounds by a certain date because we're going on a vacation and we want to look great on the beach in our new bathing suit that we bought. And so there's that whole body image. Like, why I feel like people care so much about what they're going to look like in this
Mhm.
revealing outfit that it becomes obsessive. And then you've got people saying like, well, this is what you should be doing. And then you beat yourself up if you're like, oh, I have a sugar craving. And where is that coming from? And I'm sure you guys talk about where these types of cravings come from and based on like, our healthy eating lifestyle or non-healthy eating lifestyle, because I know all of that plays into it. And that's kind of like where I'm leading into my next question, because I know you both talk a lot about the relationship between the gut health, cravings, energy, and mood. So how do you guide your clients to start tuning into their bodies and understanding what they really need, especially in the middle of busy careers, full schedules, mom duty, caregivers to their parents, whatever it is that they've got going on?
Well, one of the things that we try to get them to do is to take moments where they slow down. So, one of the things that Kerri will ask them to do is breathe before they eat anything. And busy mom, Kerri and I are both very busy moms. Those of you out there with full time careers, even without kids or pets, we're still this society. We're just go, go, go. And when you sit down to eat, do you shovel it in your mouth or do you take a moment, take a breath? We actually ask you to take more than a breath, but take that breath, slow down for just that moment and slow down while you're eating. Because even if it's just 5 minutes, that moment of slowing down will actually allow your brain the space to catch up to itself.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And then like being reflective on your day, I think is really helpful. Like we have a lot of people that are busy and it's interesting. We were talking about the should and the diet. So we have to retrain people to eat because they are so used to like, I'll just eat less. No, you got to get nutrients in or you'll be craving sugar, especially at the end of the day. So we have a lot of people who eat a lot of sugar, have a lot of cravings at night. And so we're like, how about if you just sit back, take a few deep breaths, reflect on what you ate all day, or we're like track for a few days. And I mean, who wants to track? We know that's a pain, but if you actually understand what you're eating and how you're fueling your body, then there's less shame, guilt. Like, oh, I don't need to beat myself up. I just didn't get enough nutrients. I didn't get enough protein today. I got busy. I was at a meeting and I missed. So that's why I'm craving, easy to break down, simple carbs at night. My body's like, we just need energy now, and it's going to send the signal for that. But we can rewire all of that. So it's a lot. Sometimes it's easier to just reflect versus taking breaths in the moment, even though that is the preferred way, is taking breaths in the moment.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
tracking is so important. Like we have a lot of people track not only what they're eating, how they're feeling before and after, as well as their poop schedule, it is crucial and important to really seeing what's happening inside. Not just for us. I can count on one hand, there's a few clients who really have not given us their food log, but they've received so much insight from it to be able to really look and see what you're actually doing versus what you think you're doing. Because our brain lies to us all the time. Until you put it in black and white,
Mm-hmm.
it's just what you think is happening. And what you think is happening, 9 times out of 10, isn't really what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm guilty of if I don't track or pay attention because I get busy, and then I'm like, oh man, I'm like my client right now. I haven't eaten in X amount of hours. I'm like, but I know better now. I know what fuels my body, so I can sit and eat that. So, really, it really helps you know your body.
Yeah. One of the things that I don't know, I'm not sure if I ever told you this, Bonni. I think we might have talked about it, but I remember growing up in my 20s, I was so obsessed with being skinny because I think that was like the norm back in back in the 80s into the 90s. And I remember for myself that I was so proud being able to tell a friend of mine that I hadn't eaten anything in 3 days because I thought that was the best way to stay skinny, it was like I was punishing myself, but I thought I was rewarding myself by not eating. And really, my body just went into survival mode at that point. And so I had to learn about what is good for myself to eat, not worrying so much about the calories, because I think that's where people get so hung up on is how many calories is this instead of like how many nutrients there are. How is this going to fuel my body? How am I going to feel afterward? Is this, my skin, my hair, my nails, all of this, how is it going to be affected? Yes, you want to also pay attention to the fats and all of that stuff. And I'm sure you guys talk a lot about that in your community, but it's still, I feel like we get so caught up in for me, I don't want to be focusing on the calorie part because that to me, causes way too much stress to be worried about stuff like that. I'd rather think about like, what are the good things that I can eat? How can I flavor it? And how does that affect me? And again, I'm sure the gut health also plays into it because you talk a lot about the bowel movement, but is it going through your body? And so I'm sure there's things that we eat that are maybe instead of going through the body, they're staying in the body and attaching themselves to our fat cells. Could that be a fair assessment?
Very much so. Very much so. But what you think is happening and what's actually happening are really two different things. The most eye-opening transformations I found, the most eye-opening ahas have been when we really looked at logs. And it not for weeks at a time, because truth be told, I'm not going to track anything for weeks. There's no way. I have tried. I suck at it. But to figure out what's happening and to really see and have a little bit of insight so that whatever we're suggesting and whatever we're working on together is applicable, not just here, do this, try that, try that. You're throwing spaghetti at the wall at that point. And instead of doing that, you get a little bit more insight. And those aha moments, the most impactful ones have been when we track their bowel movements and we see, okay, this is what's really happening versus what you thought was happening.
Yeah. And I know with the sugar part too, Kerri, I know we get sugar and the insulin, how it like breaks down and especially as we age. I know that as we age, starting even in our 30s, things just start to slow down even then. And we don't even realize it, even if we have active lifestyles. And so I always was wondering, especially too, like a couple things. One is when I learned about that there's so many different ways that sugar breaks down I'm not a scientist or I don't really know all of this stuff, but like the glucose and all of those things and how it starts to actually attach itself to, I guess, our cells or however that works.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that for me, I always wanted to know, like, how does that really work when the sugar is breaking down? Because it's not just about, say, for example, having something like a Diet Coke and then the fake sugar in the Diet Coke and still how it breaks down. And then the other part too, it was knowing like, okay, if I'm craving sugar, what is it that I'm missing in my diet? I was always curious about that. And so
Mhm.
I know that you probably found through your research and even what you learned. Could you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So I'm gonna do backwards. I'm gonna start with like the cravings and what you talked about as far as like, am I missing something? So there are nutrients that you could be missing, and Bonnie and I talk a lot with our women about this. So chromium is one, but magnesium is one as well. So if you are craving sweets, especially chocolate, usually you're deficient in magnesium. And I read a study the other day, I think like 90% of Americans are deficient in magnesium. And, you can get it from leafy greens, absolutely, but none of us are actually eating enough of them to get what we need. So, a magnesium supplement, I mean, that helps people. It's helped our ladies sleep better and it's helped with their cravings. And the magnesium supplement that we recommend has like 7 different types of magnesium. So, there's all these different types of magnesium as well. So that's like one piece you could be missing nutrients, but also, so balancing blood sugar. So, when we eat something, our body breaks down and extracts the sugar. We need the sugar from the carbohydrates, and it depends if it's a fiber carbohydrate, it'll affect the blood sugar a little bit less versus like a simple carbohydrate. So then there's glucose in the bloodstream and our cells need it. So insulin comes in and brings them into our cells and the extra just gets stored as fat. But if we eat something that's really sugary or super carb heavy, for each person it's a little bit different, our blood sugar can spike really quickly. And then our insulin comes in just as quickly to bring it into the cells. And so our blood sugar drops. And so we're on this kind of roller coaster all day long, depending on what we eat. This is what I did because I didn't know what the heck I was eating, right? Or I was calling myself a vegetarian and I was eating like salads and a piece of bread. And I mean, I was eating no protein, I was eating no fat. So I like to look back and see like, what were you eating all day? Because yes, it could be a nutrient deficiency, but most of the time it's that blood sugar is all over the place. And the best thing you can do for that is protein, fiber, and I mean like fiber veggies and healthy fat at every meal, even snacks. If you just focused on that, that would help balance your blood sugar. You would stay fuller longer and you would have less crashes where you're hangry and where you crave sugar. Because when our blood sugar is really low, the brain sends the signal we need something we can break down quickly. Like we need glucose quick. What are we going to go
Yeah.
for? And that's candy, bread. Like I said, that not chicken and broccoli.
Yeah, that is true. Absolutely. Well, I want to talk community for just a moment because I feel like you're not just building a community, but you're actually building a movement. It's not just about health. I feel it's really about helping women reclaim their energy, to feel their peace of mind, to feel confident. So, what's your bigger vision for the Mind and Body Reset Hub, and how do you see it continuing to grow as a community of empowered women?
Oh, we have big plans.
Mhm. That's why I was like, ooh.
Our yeah, we love this question. So, I mean, ultimately, we wanna grow this community to the point that we start having in-person events, things like retreats, because I don't know about you guys, but I would dearly love to, like, get away for a couple of
Yeah.
days, do some fun things, go hiking, go to the beach, have a spa day. I keep seeing these fun retreats where they put, like, a robe over the end of your bed or something like that, and I'm not one of those bougie girls, so I would probably show up and go, "Oh, I'm in the wrong place." But, we wanna do fun things like that because we do have ladies who are in the same areas of the country, and they end up becoming friends. So how much fun would it be to grow this to the point that now we're not just impacting people virtually, but we're impacting you in real life? Not just
Mhm.
not just from the health perspective, but
Mhm.
we're adding to your real life support system. And to be able to take that to the next level so that we're just growing and spreading the message.
Yeah, and I'm so excited for our in-person stuff, like when we build to that. Because again, like community, yes, off of line, but for mind, body, spirit, like it doesn't just have to be around food. Like, I want to have an adult conversation with like-minded people where I don't feel rushed or I'm waiting for like a little one or a business call. Like, just actually be present with people, learning about myself and learning in community.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
there's such an energetic flow that happens when you're in somebody's space, not in their bubble. Let's not invade personal bubbles. But, when you're in that energetic space together, there's a flow that you really can't mimic virtually.
Yeah. No, and we're built for community anyways. We weren't born to go through life by ourselves, even though there are people who do life by themselves. We were not born to go through life by ourselves. We were born to actually have that community, that kinship with each other. So I really feel like I love the idea of the retreats because for me, I think that's at some point I would love to be able to have retreats where I bring, women together and bringing in experts like yourselves to talk, to not only just for it to be about feeling poured into where they're doing things maybe outside that helps to like make their spirit feel good, but also to help bring people in who can help them to feel good about themselves, the whole body, the whole mind, body, spirit experience, like you were talking. So I do have one final question for you. For the women who are listening, especially if they're exhausted from doing all the right things, but they're still not feeling their best. What's something that a person could do that they could start doing today to start building a more supportive, sustainable wellness foundation for themselves?
Hmm. Oh, I'm like, there's so many things. But I'll touch on just the food, right? Like if there's one thing you're like, I know people they're beating themselves up, and I for years, right? Because I was like you, Leslie. I was like, I just want to be skinny. I just want to eat, very little or what they tell me. But what if your first and only step was to change like your breakfast? What if it was that simple to like at breakfast, like I said, protein, fiber, healthy fat? What if that was the only step you took and then you see how you feel? Does it start your day off well? Like, so it's adding in the nutrients, making sure you're starting your day off like that, blood sugar balanced, all that good stuff, and then tuning in. How were you feeling after that? And through at least half of the day.
Exactly. And if you're not feeling that, take 5 minutes, whether you can do this in your kitchen when you're cooking dinner and do some movement, something that's intentional.
Mm.
Do some squats, push-ups on the counter, walk around your kitchen. Like every time you flip that bacon, walk around the kitchen. Most of us have a kitchen island. That's
Mm-hmm.
the design nowadays is you have this big old kitchen island, right? Or you have that U-shaped. Go walk around it, come back, flip the bacon again, go walk around, come back. Just little intentional movement, not even 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. I cheated. I have an actual follow up to that because as you were talking, I was just thinking like, if let's talk like as if, okay, you're telling us that, all we need to do really just to start is just to start, right? So what is something that you would want women to know that, how do I want to ask this? So what do you most want women to know about what's possible when they stop trying to do it all alone and they actually start to like look around and say, oh, there's actually people out there that I can do this together with them.
All it takes is one small movement. Your brain will take over from there. And I know a lot of people look at me when I say that and they're like, "You're crazy. That is not how it works." But in reality, that's how it works. Is you do one tiny little thing and you start seeing possibility from just that one tiny thing. So it really is just about just start something. Whatever
Mm-hmm.
feels easiest, whatever feels doable. And even if it's as simple as hopping into community and lurking, that lurking
Mm-hmm.
will still open your brain and your eyes to something that is possible. And it kickstarts you on a different pathway.
Yeah. And I want to piggyback off that and then celebrate that tiny thing that you do. Because the celebration, and we do a lot of that in the community, we celebrate each other, we celebrate ourselves because we don't do it. But when we do it, again, back to the brain chemistry, we get this little dopamine hit and it's motivational. Like, oh, I walked around my kitchen. Maybe I'll do a little bit more the next day. Like celebrating ourselves is motivating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love how you were saying, like, just do one little thing and then celebrating it. I think we've just gotten so far away from that. And a lot of people I know talk about having checklists, and checklists are great. But if all you're doing is saying, okay, that's done, that's done, that's done, but you're not taking a moment to say, oh, guess what I just did today? Like, I actually ate the first healthy breakfast that I've had in like weeks or years or months, whatever that is, instead of just saying like, oh, I had a healthy breakfast today, or I went for a 30-minute walk, something I've been such a couch potato for so long. And all of a sudden I just decided starting Monday, I'm going to start my walks. And you went out and you took a 30-minute walk and you came back and you're like, okay, walk is done, but you moved on from it instead of like saying, wow, I did it. I said I was going to do it and I did it. So yeah, it's so like getting that brain to just flip a switch to say, all it takes is one thing to start, and then being able to celebrate that you started and being okay that it doesn't have to be huge, because I think we look at other people saying, oh, look at what she's doing. Look at how amazing her life is. And it's like, no, look at how amazing your life is if you just look at all the stuff that you have. Because I think that's where the gratitude piece for me is so super important. I'm all about gratitude and flipping it back and looking on your own life that you can be so grateful for, like, oh, you know what? I just met Bonni and Kerri, and they have this community, and my first day in it, I learned something really incredible, and I'm going to go and try that. And that's like a huge win, and you don't feel alone anymore. But we just get so caught up in just like doing life alone, I think. Like, because you guys know, I mean, I know, Bonni, that you have twins, and I'm sure that they're amazing, and watching them grow and being in the industry that you're in and being able to support them that way is incredible. And being able to show other women that, yes, as moms, we can do this. Like, we still can have a life outside of everything else. Like, as you were saying, Kerri, in the beginning, we're always in the doing for everyone else and we forget ourselves. So I really think it's important. And yeah, I've just loved having both of you on today. It's been amazing. I love, as I was saying, I've known Bonni for a while, and Kerri, you're a wonderful new addition into my world. And it's been really joyful learning more about how you both are helping women not only reset their energy, but rebuild their confidence and truly feel at home in their bodies again. And I love the way that you've created a supportive community around that and made real results feel doable. And that's something I know that's going to really resonate with so many of the listeners today. So thanks again, both of you, for being here and sharing your wisdom and your energy with us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
And to our listeners, if you'd like to connect with Bonni and Kerri directly and learn more about the Mind and Body Reset, or their hit podcast, Health Hacks and Wine Racks, where they serve up autoimmune-friendly recipes, gut-friendly hacks, and honest conversations about what it really takes to feel good, paired with a splash of wine and a lot of laughs, you can find their contact information in the show notes. Remember, your well-being doesn't require perfection, restriction, or overcomplication. With the right support and simple, sustainable strategies, feeling good in your body and your life is not only possible, it's within reach, one intentional choice at a time. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep believing, and keep designing your extraordinary life one day at a time. Thank you for joining me on Her Extraordinary Life by Design. I hope you've been inspired and empowered by the incredible stories shared on this show. If you enjoyed this episode and the conversations we've had, I would greatly appreciate if you could take a moment to leave a review. Your feedback and support mean the world to me, and it will help others discover the podcast and join our empowering community. Remember to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Together, we can continue to learn from these amazing women, uncover their extraordinary journeys, and be motivated to create our own lives by design. Thank you again for tuning in. Until next time, stay empowered and keep shaping your extraordinary life one day at a time.
Mamá, papá, mi cuerpo crece a un ritmo alarmante y la ropa que me compren ahora me quedará muy pequeña muy pronto. Pero su billetera no tiene que sufrir por la moda con los precios bajos de la vuelta a clases de Amazon. Amazon, gasta menos, sonríe más.
Juvederm Day is coming on August 20th. For one day only, buy one $75 gift card and get one free. Juvederm Day gift cards can be used on any product in the Juvederm collection of fillers. Don't miss out on this once-a-year chance to save. Join Allie now while supplies last. Skin Beef by Juvederm is excluded from this promotion. Terms and conditions apply.
Electricast.